Happy Spooktober 30th and not the 28th according to my MacBook. These are censored pictures of what we're going to do today, and they're basically to keep you curious, so subscribe if you want to keep stuff up like this. So these are our two prosthetics that we're going to be doing today with liquid latex, spirit gum, and toilet paper. Make sure it's that single ply stuff, because if it was two ply you're going to have to be separating it, because what we want is pretty thin, but we still got to make sure it's firme. That's why I'm checking how strong it is. Gonna save that for later. So we gotta make sure that we have glass or something plasticky that the latex is gonna be able to peel off of, and then we're gonna forget what we're doing. We're buffering, and then we're gonna go ahead and lay down the latex. It's pretty repetitive. You're just gonna go ahead and spread that all over. Every time after you spread it, you're gonna go ahead and lay down a piece of toilet paper and make sure that it soaks in all the latex and has a little excess latex so it could hold the next piece of toilet paper. And it's going to keep going like that for 10, no more than 15 times, because we don't want it too heavy, because that's not going to be able to stick on our cheek or forehead essentially, but I made it too big, so the cheek. And then you're going to pull toilet paper out of the sky, and you're going to go ahead and rip it up vertically. And make sure to have a lot of those prepared, because you're going to need a lot. Use the first one, fold it in half, and you're gonna go ahead and roll it in between your hands into a little stick. And you're gonna use that little stick and you're gonna lay it on the latex that's still wet. If it's not wet, you can just go ahead and add more latex, just so it could stick to it. And then we pull out our reference picture, because we're gonna go ahead and start that satanic star and not the Star of David. This is how you lay down the pieces of toilet paper. Honestly, I just eyeball it. It's never a perfect circle. It's never going to be perfect. It's latex. It gets really messy. Speaking of latex, you have to go ahead and lay it over the first circle that you did and place another piece of toilet paper on top of it. Make sure that it soaks up a lot more latex than it needs.
Ninjas, start to the street, dog, I start to do the street walk. I am a walker and I'm fading here alone. Ninjas, let's put a freaking helmet on my head. Mellow bro, kill the cat before he eats the boss.
Eventually you're going to go in with a lead pencil. We're going to use it to adjust the star, make it however we want before we lay down the latex to finalize it. When you're finally happy with what you have, you're going to take another piece of toilet paper and put it on top of the star. You have to use the sponge again to make sure that the latex soaks up the toilet paper for the last time. Go ahead and detail it however you want before we would let it dry. That's it for our satanic star. So when you go back and check on it, it should be turning yellow on the thin parts, and that's a good sign that it's drying well. It's not completely dry though until it's yellow. But wait, there's more. We're going to use the same sponge. There you go. It's basically the same foundation as the star, because it starts with the same thing, laying down of the latex. The only difference is that with the toilet paper on this one, most of them are cut vertically instead of the squares, but for now we're going to be using just the squares. Same thing as the other one, except for this one I usually make it a little thinner and make it using about 10, no more than that. The other one I probably use like 13. I know I said no more than 15, but just to show you that I used a little less on this one. It goes into a mushy state when it gets thicker, and when it gets into that state is when I start drawing in the lines. See, I even threw away a little mushy part. And you draw 1, 2, 3 lines next to each other like a scratch mark, because it is a claw prosthetic. I don't even think this is a legit prosthetic. This is just the way I make them. So after we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and lay down the tissue paper to cover the scratches that we just made. This is also where the vertical strands come into play, because they start being laid on each side of a scratch mark and pounded down with the sponge with latex on it. As I said, this is a very repetitive thing, because we're going to keep doing this until we feel like it's thick enough and looks like it has some sort of dimension, because then we can lay down regular squares of tissue paper. As soon as we finish drawing in these last 3 claw marks is when we're going to top it off one more time. When I'm ending it off for the last time, I tend to use vertical strips. I have no idea why, I just like the way it looks. I think it looks a lot better and it's going to be a lot easier to claw them in for the last time. And once we're completely satisfied with what we have is when we're done and we let it dry. It's your boy, Yaya Looks, and this is me testing it out for the first time, and when I figured it out that it didn't fit on my forehead, so I kind of want to dye a little. One thing I forgot to mention and show is that you're going to have to cut it to fit wherever you're going to place it and figure out wherever you're going to place it, because that's exactly where you're going to have to lay down all the spirit gum for the cheek piece. Make sure that you put the spirit gum everywhere. Like, it's better to be safe than sorry at this point. And I say that because you've made it this far into the tutorial. I cannot lose you now. You've made it this far. We can do this, even though I wanted to quit like 20 times. After you do that, you're gonna go ahead and lay it down on the prosthetic as well. Make sure that you cover every space possible, and after you do that, you're gonna have to activate the spirit gum by tapping on your face like this. Looks pretty stupid, but if you don't tap it, it's not gonna work, which is weird, but that's just how it is. Adjust it however you have to do it, even if it makes you contemplate a little bit. Once it's dry, it's gonna look like this, and it's not gonna look perfect, so we gotta use latex to cover up the seam. Since it's not gonna appear with a magical camera cut, I'm actually gonna show you how to do it. I use a little small brush because we don't want to smother it with latex at this point because it'll make the prosthetic fall straight off, and I discovered that a couple times. But this is when I did not discover that and I figured out the loophole. You use tissue paper and you put it on the seam. The way that you do this is you're going to make the latex go on one side of the prosthetic and then on the skin and connect it with a piece of tissue paper, and that's just how it's going to stay on your skin. And you do that all the way around. Since it's latex, just like the prosthetics, we have to wait for them to yellow on the face. And then that's when we know they're ready to paint. I know I said paint, but actually I'm going to go in with foundation first. I'm using my Kat Von D foundation. You can really use any foundation that you want, just make sure it's not a super wet foundation because we don't want it to make the latex wet. After we're done laying down the foundation, we're gonna go in with red, a dark red from any local Spirit Halloween store in Party City. I'll link it down below. With this paint, we're actually gonna go in on the deep parts of the star, and on the actual star itself, we're gonna remember to cover it with foundation because it's supposed to be a part of our skin. With the same spongy brush, we're going to go ahead and dip it into that red paint again. And this time, instead of putting it inside the cut, we're just going to sponge it over the foundation to kind of give it a bruised effect. And we're going to do the same thing with the purple paint. I know you're probably like, whoa, that looks different, what did I miss? But you honestly didn't miss much, it's just blood. So the little trick with blood is, I actually put it over spots that I feel like I didn't cover that well, kind of to hide them. I know you're not supposed to do that, but it works. And I'm just putting it all over, inside, deep in the cut especially, and I put it on top of my forehead, and this is what it turned out to look like. I totally forgot to mention this in the beginning, but we're gonna need a glue stick, and we're gonna need this to glue down one of our eyebrows in case we have hair there that we don't want to lose. Once the glue is dry, we're gonna place the prosthetic over our eye to see how it fits and cut it into shape. Once you feel like it's a perfect fit, we're going to start laying down the latex and tissue paper on top of the latex. I only do the top of my eyebrow and the bottom of my eye, not close to your eye though. Since we don't want to poke one of our eyes out while we're painting this black, we're going to do 3 layers of toilet paper. And instead of using spirit gum on this one, since it's a little lighter, we could use latex on it, but we're going to have to hold it on for a little longer. And I know some of you guys are forever alone on this spooky season, so I'm going to go ahead and cover the PDA for you. You're welcome. Sorry, Georgians. We're going to put latex on one side of the prosthetic and on our skin, and we're just going to keep building that up with toilet paper, basically mending the edges together, just like the satanic star on our cheek. So we're going to go in with black this time, and you should have done this beforehand, before putting the prosthetic on, but I didn't because I goofed. So here you are with me now, filling in the black part. A little bit more of Kat Von D on there and some red paints, and we're done.
So please help me. I will find you, and I will kill you, and everyone you know will be dead.
No.
Let me take
No.
Let me take this one off.
Okay.
Yes. Throw one. Mother. George.
Can you take it off?
What? That was right directly in your hand.
Not this one, not this one.
Right here.
This one?
My perception is off, George. I squished it.
She still caught it, dude. Come on, dude. She has one eye. You don't
Hey, be careful, my eyebrow's right there.
just yank it off.
I was.
What happened to your eyebrow? I don't know.
I know, and I'm trying to get a job right now.
It's a shelf with half a shaped eyebrow.
Oh, you got a piece of toilet paper on your. Who needs masks? Huh? Oh yeah. Does it hurt? Oh.